Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. I'm still doing resource allocation and today I'm covering supply. So what is supply? Supply is simply and basically the quantity of a product or the quantity of a commodity that the firms, the businesses, the sellers, they are willing and they are able to bring to the market at any given price and over a given or specified period of time. So you say that the quantity of a product that farms or sellers are willing and are able to bring to the market at a given price over a given period of time, this one describes or defines supply. Key things: willingness, ability, specific price, and time. This one defines supply. Let's dive in and look at a different thing still on the supply. Just like we have demand schedule, we also have a supply schedule. So what is a supply schedule? And this is a tabular analysis, or simply a table which is showing different prices, different quantities over a given period of time. In short, it is showing the different quantities which are supplied or which farms are bringing to the market at different prices over time. Let me do a simple table here and assume here we have the price and here we have the quantity supplied. So if the price, for example, is at $10, then we have 24 units. $20, 32 units. If we have $32, we have something like 49 units. $37, we get 51 units. At $44, we get 68 units. Look at this. This tabular analysis here gives us the supply schedule. So the supply schedule here will tell us something. What can we observe? We can observe that this general observation can make from this table that as the price of this commodity or this product increases, the quantity or the number of units supplied is also increasing. So as the price increases, the quantity supplied also increases. So what can we conclude from here? This will give us the law of supply. Just like we had the law of demand, here we have the law of supply. Moving forward, we say that now the law of supply simply tells us that there is a positive relationship. There's a positive relationship between the price of that product and the quantity supplied. This is the law of supply. Good. Moving forward, let's look into something different still under supply. And here we want to focus on the supply curve. Just like we did with demand, supply curve is simply a graphical presentation of the supply schedule. You see the figures we had there? We're just trying to place them using to plot them on a graph. So we are saying that the law of supply, when plotted on a graph, it will give us this kind of a graph. On the y-axis, we have price against quantity supplied. So what must change? Price changes, then it's followed by quantity supplied. And here we have the supply curve with that. This is the supply curve. It shows that we have a positive positive correlation between price and quantity supplied. For instance, if that is the price, that will be the quantity Q1. If you increase the price to P1, then the quantity supplied will increase to Q1, showing there is a positive relationship between these two quantities which we are using to define and understand supply. Great. Now let's move and dive into the concept of movement along a supply curve. Movement along a supply curve. Here we want to mention that this movement, just like in demand, it is caused by changes in the price of the commodity. So we have price against quantity supplied. So let's see how this movement can take place. That is a supply curve. We are labeling it as S. And then we have a point on the y-axis to show price P1 or price P. Then we have quantity Q, which is marking a point A on the curve. So point A on the curve, we have P again as Q. Then we have another point where we have P1 and Q1, which will happen if we lower the price from P to P1. The quantity decreases from Q to Q1, causing a movement from A to B. If we increase the price from P to P2, we are going to have the quantity supplied increasing from Q to Q2, causing a movement along the curve from A to C. Now we can see we have two movements. One, and the movements are in different direction. A movement from A to C is an extension, which shows an increase in quantity supplied, while from A to B is a contraction, showing a decrease in quantity supplied. And you need to note one thing here. Movement along a supply curve is caused by change in the price of the product only. It is caused by change in the price of the product only. In short, the determining factor is price, because we are going to see what happens when other factors are changing, and that's why we are looking into the shift of the supply curve. So shift of the supply curve, we are going to see this one here. Unlike movement, it is caused by change. It is caused by change in any other factor or any other determinant of supply, apart from, or rather than, the price of the product. So all the other determinants will cause a shift of supply in case they change either positively or negatively. And this tells us we need to dive in and understand more about the determinants of supply. Here I'll discuss all the determinants of supply, then I'll show how they may cause a shift of the supply curve. One of the determinants is time. And this is so simple. Some of the products which are needed in the market, they take long time to supply. For instance, if you're supplying ships, manufacture of ships, if you are supplying aircrafts or agricultural products, these will take you long time. For agricultural products, actually you have to grow them, wait for them to ripen until you harvest. So time is a factor. In short, we are saying that those products which require long time to supply, they may experience a decrease in supply, which is demonstrated by a shift of the supply curve inwards. So we are saying that the factor time is there. Factor number 2 is weather. This is specifically for agricultural products. When you have a good weather, such as rains, when you have good weather conditions, example is rains, then we have increase in supply of agricultural products. We shall have an increase in supply of agricultural products. Uh, Conversely, in case we experience droughts, we shall have a decrease in supply of that specific agricultural product. One is time, the other one is weather, and they are related in some way. Each factor will either increase supply or decrease supply. The third factor is opportunity cost. This one is covered in one of my recent videos. So opportunity cost is the value of the foregone choice. So as a supplier, if you have two options and you choose one and you leave the other, we are saying that the supply of the foregone alternative will usually decrease, while the supply of the chosen alternative will usually increase. So that is very clear. You want to produce maize, you want to produce beans, you choose one, you leave the other. Whichever you choose, its supply will increase. Factor number 4 is when we have government policies such as taxation. So increase in taxation or taxes which are geared towards the production of the good or the product means that we shall have a decrease in supply. Reason, they increase the cost of production. The number 5, we have innovation or technology. Innovation or technology is another determinant. So whenever we have improvement in technology, it usually increases the supply of a product. This of course will cause an outward shift of the supply curve. The number 6, which is second from last, we have usually the cost of production. And here we are saying that when the cost of production is high, if it is high, then of course it will lead to a decrease in supply. If it goes down, then we have an increase in supply. Then lastly, we have subsidies. This is still under government policy. Subsidies is a financial assistance given to farms or producers. So if we have subsidies given, then they reduce the cost of production, and consequently we have an increase in supply. And here we have discussed how these factors either increase the supply or decrease the supply. But you need to notice something, that any factor or any determinant, any factor that causes an increase in supply, any factor that causes an increase in supply will usually cause an outward shift, of the supply curve. The opposite is true, that if the factor is causing a decrease in supply, then we expect it to cause an inward shift of the supply curve. Next, I want to demonstrate the different types the types of shift in which the supply curve can experience. So you're saying that the first one is the outward shift, or a shift to the right. Let me plot here price against quantities supplied. Then I show the supply curve. So how will an outward shift look like? There it is, S1, showing that we have a shift of the supply curve outwards. What might cause this is when we go back to the determinants. Simple. When we have a decrease in cost of production, we have an increase in supply and outward shift. If we have low taxes, decrease in cost of production, then outward shift. If we have an increase in subsidies from the government, then it's an outward shift. You can imagine a case whereby we have improved technology or innovation. It can cause an outward shift. Sometimes we talk about favorable seasons or weather conditions, they'll cause an outward shift. And here we can also talk about products which require very short time to manufacture. They can be increased within a short time, so will cause an outward shift. What about an inward shift? This one means a decrease in supply. So let us see in this diagram here, we have price against quantity supplied. That is the original supply curve, but the new supply curve is showing that we have a shift to the left, which is an inward shift. What are the things which might cause this? We go back to the determinants of supply. One of them will be something like high cost of production, which will lead to a decrease in supply. You can have things like high taxes. You can have ponds like when you have a bad season or a bad weather. Talk about droughts, which will lead to a decrease in agricultural products. Talk about withdrawal of subsidies. We can talk about production of goods which require very long time. All these will cause an inward shift, and all this is what I wanted to cover about supply. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Please remember to subscribe to the channel.